Villager drags wife off a couch. A roofer forges the signature of a villager. A villager causes $150,000 in damages on a railroad track. A Guatemalan caught for a hit and run. A 91-year-old receives a 5-year prison sentence. Speed humps or speed bumps? That's the question. A villager's granddaughter goes to prison. Another accident in the villages results in death. Villa residents block visitors' parking. Another hole-in-one. Village's storage facility catches fire and is under investigation. This and more. Keep watching. New speed humps have been installed on both entrances to the golf cart tunnel under Buena Vista Boulevard near Lake Meona Rec Center. Speed humps are seen less disruptive than speed bumps. Would you like to see more speed humps in the villages? No. Does my vote count? No. A judge has rendered a decision on a request for bond from a villager accused of trying to kill his wife. George Albert Hatchie, 72, allegedly stabbed his wife 12 times on the morning of September 28th at their home in the village of Della Vista North. He has pleaded not guilty to a charge of attempted first-degree murder. She must have fell on a knife 12 times. Last week, Judge Mary Hatcher took under advisement a motion from Hatchie's attorney seeking his release on a $50,000 bond. This week, Hatcher ruled against Hatchie's release. Good for her. On the day of the attack, Hatchie's 68-year-old wife was able to call 911 after being stabbed in the legs, abdomen, and chest. Don't let me die, she implored Sumter County Sheriff's deputies who kicked open the bedroom door and found her on the floor of the home she shared with her husband on Santa Marina Drive. We rented a home there a couple of times on Santa Marina Drive. It's a nice area, except by Spanish Springs. But at that time we rented up there, Spanish Springs was the only square there was. Anyway, I'm glad that he's not getting out. You have to think of the wife. If he does get released on a $50,000 bond after stabbing her 12 times, will he go seek revenge? Here's another one that ought to go to jail and just stay there. A mother has begun serving a prison sentence for inflicting a skull fracture on her young daughter at a home at which they were living in the villages. Jessica Lee Lewis, 36, was sentenced to 8 years in state prison on a charge of aggravated child abuse in connection with a 2018 incident which occurred on the historic site of the villages. She was transferred Tuesday from Lake County Jail to the custody of the Florida Department of Corrections. She began serving her sentence at the Florida Women's Reception Center in Ocala. Her release date is set for April 28th, 2030. Lewis had taken her child to New Mars Children's Hospital in Orlando, where it was determined the child had suffered a skull fracture. The Department of Children's and Families was contacted and launched an investigation. A doctor also confirmed the child had several fractures in various stages of healing on legs, right arm, and ribs. Lewis had been released from a Florida prison in 2017 after serving time on drug charges, as well as a grand theft charge. Her grandmother allowed Lewis to move in with her on St. Andrews Boulevard upon her release from prison. Lewis, while free on bond in the child abuse case, drained her grandmother's bank account of more than $100,000. The grandmother was 98 at the time. How low life do you have to be in this world? The judge also sentenced Lewis to 8 years in prison for ripping off her grandmother. The 2 8-year prison sentences will run concurrent. In addition, Lewis was ordered to make $104,000 in restitution to her grandmother. That's almost laughable. Residents fear a new grocery store will add to already heavy traffic at a site of a fatal crash this week in the villages. A 27-year-old Wildwood man suffered fatal injuries at the scene of a crash, which occurred at 9:53 p.m. Monday at County Road 466 and Buena Vista Boulevard. The crash involved 3 vehicles and inflicted serious injuries on 3 other people. Ken Weber, who lives in a nearby village of Tall Trees, fears that the soon-to-be completed Sprouts Farmers Market will bring even more traffic to the notorious intersections. Well, absolutely it will. Common sense. Weber said the accident this week was horrible. He said he wonders why the villages will encourage such heavy development at the intersection. Living in the village of Tall Trees, we've experienced a growth for the past 17 years. We were never given the opportunity to vote no against this massive addition of traffic to the villages. I guess money trumps safety. Always has, always will. You know the old saying. Money talks, and you know what walks. Weber appears to be speaking for many of his fellow residents who have warily watched the rapid construction of the new grocery store and additional retail going up at that intersection. They're not going to be able to stop it, dude. And I'm not going to use that smart-ass answer that a lot of people do. If you don't like it, move. I hate that. I do. I just hate that. You've been here long enough where you're settling in. You're at an age now where you don't want to be doing all this moving around stuff. And now this is happening and you kind of feel like there's nowhere to go. I understand. I don't know what to tell you, but this growing, the building, Wildwood commissions are the one that approves all this stuff, at least here in Sumter. And tax dollars, money talks, BS walks, and they're never going to stop. Because the facts of it is, and I'm going to put it out there, if any of you really think a politician cares about you, you're living in a dream world. None of them cares nothing about you. They don't care about you. They care about getting reelected. They care about their future endeavors of what they want to do in life. You know, like a governor wants to be a senator wants to be president. That's all they care about. What do I do to get them votes? That's it. They don't give a rat's ass about you. A second person has died as a result of a crash at that intersection this past week. In the villages, the Florida Highway Patrol announced on Christmas Eve that a 22-year-old Wildwood woman died Thursday at an area hospital as the result of a crash Monday night on County Road 466 and Buena Vista Boulevard. The woman had been a passenger in a car driven by 27-year-old Wildwood man who suffered fatal injuries at the scene of the crash. Their vehicle was approaching the intersection when it was hit by an 18-year-old Leesburg man who had failed to stop at a red light at the intersection. Both vehicles collided with a traffic signal pole. The Wildwood man's car continued forward and crashed into the sport utility vehicle driven by 46-year-old Ocala man. The 18-year-old Leesburg driver who ran the red light suffered serious injuries. His 18-year-old male passenger, also from Leesburg, suffered serious injuries too. The driver of the sport utility vehicle suffered minor injuries. The passenger in the SUV, a 63-year-old woman from the Villages, also suffered minor injuries. Villager Sandy Hill is fed up with overflow parking constantly being filled up in her villa community. The chief violators in her neighborhood appear to be snowbirds. There is a house in my section that are renters. They have 4 vehicles that they park in the overflow parking spaces and another vehicle parked in their driveway. Parking is an age-old headache in villa communities in Florida's friendliest hometown. It is. If you're buying a home in a villa community, expect it. Most complaints in villa communities concern homeowners or renters whose extra vehicles fill up the supplemental parking areas nearly 24 hours a day. Those who abide by the rules are frustrated there are no parking spaces available when they have visitors, including family in town for the holidays. In 2020, the Community Development District 2 Board of Supervisors voted to put up signs that read, "No resident parking at all of the villages located in CDD 2. The signs were intended to inform residents of the supplemental parking is intended for visitors and guests, not residents, including those who may find the parking spots convenient for storing second cars. The Veracruz villas are located in CDD 2. Many who say the signs are informational and are not backed by towing enforcement are largely being ignored. Most rules here in the villages are ignored. People don't care. I don't know what to tell you. That's just the way it is, because one of the things that's wrong here is there's no enforcement of anything. Seriously, there just isn't. You can complain, they'll look into it, but there's no enforcement of it. Laura Fries of the village of Pennycamp celebrated after getting her first hole-in-one Wednesday on hole number 2 at Turtle Mountain Executive Golf Course. She flew a 9-iron, 95 yards, took one hop, bounced right in the cup. That's the way to go, Laura. Take the girls out for a glass of wine. Villagers are sounding off on their love and hate relationship with speed bumps, on the multimodal paths. Over the past few years, many speed bumps have been removed, including the particularly dreaded speed bumps on the multimodal paths at the entrance of the village of Bridgeport at Lake Sumter and at the tunnel under Morse Boulevard at Lake Sumter. Last week, a pair of speed humps mysteriously appeared and then disappeared, setting off comments from residents who had either hailed or despised their arrival. Residents have a long history of hating the damaged speed bumps inflicted on their backs and golf carts. However, other residents see speed bumps as a necessary evil to slow down speed demons who refuse to stop and look both ways. I, for one, do not like speed bumps. For the obvious reason, it is inconvenient and it assumes that I will not control my speed at a specific location where the speed bump is placed. It in effect punishes me for past mistakes of drivers who have had accidents at that location, said Jeffrey Atwood from the village of Fernandina. He pointed out that a villager was airlifted last year from a golf cart crash at Lake Viona Tunnel, where the speed hump made their brief appearance last week. Should all villagers be made to pay for such a mishap? Every time somebody has an accident, it should not invoke a change in the roadways. Accidents will happen. Adding obstacles will make them more frequent, warned William Perry Jr. of the village of Santo Domingo. However, others believe speed bumps offer a form of protection. We need speed bumps because we have too many people driving their golf carts like cars. They are driving above the limit for golf carts and somehow think it's safe, and do not have the control like an automobile, said Village Bernie Teodorsky. I just don't get it. Look, I know what the speed limits are, but if a guy's doing 25 and the speed limit's 20, who cares? A builder is seeking more time to present a plan for a housing development after losing a round in front of a planning and zoning board. Residents living on a small farm on Edwards Road won a round earlier this month when the Lady Lake Planning and Zoning Board voted 3-1 rejection on annexation request from Natai Capital Partners for a construction of 122 densely packed homes, each with a $300,000 price point. The Planning and Zoning Board's denial of the proposed development is not binding, and the project was to be considered next week by the full Lady Lake Commission. However, the builder has decided to punt a presentation to the full commission until February. The builder has indicated more time is needed to assess our options. After the planning and zoning meeting, the meeting was highly emotional, with residents fighting to preserve their rural way of life. The State Fire Marshal's office is investigating a late-night blaze that erupted at Spanish Springs Town Square. The village's public safety department was dispatched at about midnight Monday to a storage facility adjacent to Sharon L. Morris Performing Arts Center and behind Margarita Republic. Timeout. Years ago, when Spanish Springs was the only square, if I remember right, the offices for the corporate offices anyway was up there, and that building back there I think was undercover parking for the executive offices, employees and things there. And then when Lake Sumter was built, they moved down there, and then they turned that area back there into storage. And I don't know if it's public storage, private storage. I haven't been back there in a long time, but I think it's storage. And it's very possible, because they changed the church on the square to Sharon Morris Performing Arts Theater, and it's not too far behind that building there, that maybe they use that building now for a lot of the things for the Sharon Morris Performing Arts Theater. That's my guess. I'll go on and read some more now. The storage structure was about 50% involved in flames when firefighters arrived on several units. They quickly extinguished the blaze. The storage facility is primarily used by the village's entertainment department. Years ago, the structure served as private covered parking for executives in the villages. Yeah, as those executives migrated to Lake Sumter Landing and later to Brownwood, the structure was converted to a storage facility. The State Fire Marshal's office is usually involved in fires of a suspicious nature, including arson. The investigation and subsequent report could take months to complete. You might find out there's a homeless person back there. It was on a chilly night. He started a fire to stay warm, got things out of hand, and he just picked his bags up and walked away. Let's do letters to the editor, a couple of those. Yesterday, my wife and myself were driving our golf cart over to Edna's. I'll be Edna's on the green. For the evening, when we noticed two kids riding a moped. They could not have been 10 or 11 years old. One with a helmet, the other one without, driving as fast as that moped could go. I thought this was supposed to be a retirement community. Where are the parents of these children? Things are getting out of control here. There is no security watch on golf cart paths at all. Nope. Not what I ever thought would be happening here in the villages. I sent in by Daniel Mayett of the village of Monarch Grove. Well, Daniel, you don't watch my channel. I've been talking about these things for years. People don't agree with me half the time until they live here for a year or two. And then they start noticing these things. I've talked about it many, many times. Watch my channel. I can teach you a lot. You may not like it, but I can teach you a lot. Letter to the editor. Why hasn't the developer been challenged at great length for not enforcing or adding new restrictive covenants to prevent current and or future residents from allowing young children or short-term residents using Airbnbs to destroy our lifestyle? One would think that using a home owned in the villages as an Airbnb is using it as running a business, which is currently not allowed. That's interesting. Perhaps many of us should write to the Orlando Sentinel, who might publish our complaints and affect future sales by the developer. The news of how our lifestyle is no longer what it had been promised would speak as money and influence the developer. That's sent in by Matten Rothbard from Freedom Point. Well, I can't say I disagree with what he's saying. I mean, he's got a right to say what he wants. The only thing is that I can see here that I totally disagree with, and it might just be the way he worded it. He didn't mean anything by it. It's his. It says, the news of how our lifestyle is no longer what has been promised. Nothing was promised. Nothing. Even back when Harold was around. I mean, things were done differently, yes. But you don't have anything in writing. He had to go to court and prove what you say was promised. What evidence do you have? You have none. So nothing has been promised. To the editor, first of all, the villages did not advertise that it is a gated community. Thank you. I've been talking about that for years. And people, like I've said before, they hear what they want to hear. And I guess I should say they see what they want to see. Anyone is welcome to enjoy our town squares. Yes. I love to see families with children dancing or just listening to the music. People here should welcome visitors and stop complaining. The businesses in our community could not survive without the support of the general public. People like to say that, but I don't think that's true. Linda Dennis, the village of Santo Domingo. I think our businesses were doing just fine long before all this happened. So no, I don't believe that we have to have the general public for our business to survive. They will generally manipulate things to where they'll be fine. I don't mind children being here at the squares and things like that. I think what people are talking about, don't get things all twisted out of shape, Linda. I think they're talking about people with children, that the children are living here full time. We all know it's only 30 days per calendar year. They got to go. To the editor, in regards to outsiders, the squares are open to every person on this planet. Well, I wouldn't say that. I don't think that Putin would be welcome. Public property. Remember, this area was here long before you showed up. It's you who are the outsiders. That's sent in by Mike Hollingshead from Summerfield. Yeah, he's got a point. The locals here, all the Wildwood people, the Summerfield people, the Oxford people, all the towns around us, we're sitting on farm ground. You know, years ago when I came down here in my semi-truck, I had a regular run where I came down here regularly. And I can remember on I-75 coming south, I don't remember where it started, but the orange groves along the highway hit. You could smell them. And there were just orange groves everywhere. Now, from, say, the Georgia border to Orlando, down 75 and down the toll road down there, ask yourself, how many orange groves do you see now? They had that blight. Most of the orange groves were rooted up, plowed up, and then they started planting recyclable things like pine trees that they take the pulp mills, or they can make telephone poles out of them. That's really what took place of the orange groves in the central part of Florida and north. And they could take the cold weather where the orange groves really can't. There's good and there's bad. I don't know where to put the blame. A villager was arrested after allegedly pulling a woman off a couch during an argument on Christmas Day. Sumter County Sheriff's deputies were called at 7:40 p.m. to a domestic dispute at a home of 73-year-old Norman Lucien Bison in the village of Summerhill. A woman reported that she and Bison had been arguing, and he grabbed her legs and dragged her off the couch before placing his hands around her throat, preventing her from breathing. According to arrest report, she said she struck him in self-defense. He was taken into custody on a charge of battery. He was booked at the Sumter County Detention Center and released after posting a $50 bond. A Village of Alhambra man has been jailed after skipping a court date in a case in which he has been accused of attacking his girlfriend. Gary Thomas Wilcox, 61, was booked last week at the Lake County Jail without bond on a warrant charging him with failure to appear. The warrant was issued this past October after he missed a court date in Lake County. An affidavit of probable cause from Lake County Court indicated that Wilcox showed up at his ex-girlfriend's home at about 1 a.m. December 17, 2021. She heard pounding noises and found him sitting on a chair in her sunroom. She said he became angry and pushed her into a lampstand. He left, and the woman confirmed that all the doors and windows were locked. He apparently gained access to the sunroom by cutting the screen. Whoops. She told law enforcement that she knows Gary Thomas Wilcox's anger and she fears for her life. She obtained an injunction against him, but she received multiple phone calls from Wilcox telling her to drop it. Drop the injunction and don't call the cops. She played it for law enforcement. A roofer has been arrested after allegedly forging a villager's signature on a document. Christopher Lee Collick, 36, of Deland, was arrested Wednesday by Sumter County Sheriff's deputies on a felony charge that he had forged a document. A resident of the village said that Collick had been working on her neighbor's house across the street. She said that Collick forged her name on a notice of commencement form that was submitted to the Sumter County Court Clerk's office. A notice of commencement is a form publicly filed in county records to signify that a construction project is beginning. The form contains information identifying the people involved with the project, such as who the property owner and construction lender are. Collick submitted the apparently forged document, and it was approved through the Sumter County Clerk of Court's office, according to the arrest report. Up north, I think they just called that a builder's permit. An arrest report indicates a drunk driving suspect from the village has caused $150,000 in damage to railroad tracks when she left her car to be hit by the locomotive. Angenia Pinchuk, 20, who lives at 1603 Cherry Hill Road on the historic side of the villages, pleaded not guilty last week in Sumter County Court to 2 counts of driving under the influence. She remains free on bond. A visitor from New York was caught with marijuana at a golf course in the village as a Sumter County Sheriff's deputy was driving by the Pimlico Executive Golf Course at about 5 p.m. Tuesday when he spotted 21-year-old Naya Camry Boyd and another woman by the tee box. Boyd, who appeared to be nervous, immediately got into the golf cart when she saw the deputy approaching. Boyd told a deputy she was sitting at the golf course watching the sunset. The deputy detected a strong odor of burnt marijuana coming from the golf cart. A burnt marijuana cigarette was found by the deputy. Boyd told the deputy she was from New York and had been visiting family for Christmas. She was arrested on charges of possession of marijuana and possession of drug equipment. She was booked at the Sumter County Detention Center and released after posting a $2,000 bond. A New York snowbird will lose her driver's license after a drunk driving arrest in a golf cart at Brownwood. Diane Tompkins, 62, of Port Jefferson, New York, will lose her license for 6 months, had been placed on probation for 1 year in order to perform 50 hours of community service after pleading no contest last week in Sumter County Court. Tompkins was found by Community Watch at about 11:30 p.m. September the 10th with her golf cart stuck in the fence near Cody's original roadhouse, according to the arrest report from Wildwood Police Department. Officer asked her how her golf cart ended up there. She told him, "I don't know." She was just sitting there in a daze. She provided breath samples that registered 0.197, 0.192 alcohol blood content. A Village of Silver Lake woman with a history of arrest found herself behind bars that Christmas. Destiny Rose Keene, 30, who lives at 739 Royal Palm Avenue, was arrested in the wee hours Friday morning by Lady Lake police on a charge of driving while license suspended. She was found to be in possession of fentanyl and marijuana. Keene was already on probation due to prior arrest. She was arrested in 2020 after taking her child to UF Health, the village's hospital, after he ingested drugs he found in her bra. She was arrested the following year with 19.9 grams of methamphetamine, marijuana, and a digital scale. After her arrest this past week, Keene was being held without bond at Lake County Jail. She is due to appear before a judge January 17th at Lake County Court. The hell's the matter with you people? And you're a mother. A hit-and-run victim chased down an unlicensed driver from Guatemala who fled the scene of a crash. Esven Emmanuel Mejia Monterosa, 27, of Orlando, was arrested Tuesday afternoon on charges of hit and run and driving without a license when Sumter County Sheriff's deputies arrived on the scene at about 3:30 p.m. at My RV Storage at 2715 State Road 44 in Wildwood. They found that Maritosa's white Dodge pickup had been blocked in by a Hyundai Santa Fe sport utility vehicle. The SUV driver said he had been rear-ended by Maritosa in the area of State Road 44 near Interstate 75 northbound off-ramp. The SUV driver pulled over to exchange information, but the pickup kept driving. A witness in another vehicle joined the SUV and following Maritosa to a storage facility. Deputies responded after the 911 call was placed to dispatch. Maritosa handed deputies a Guatemalan passport and admitted he does not have a driver's license. A records check revealed he has been arrested twice in Orange County for driving without a license. He also has unpaid traffic fines in Orange County. In addition to the criminal charges, Maritosa was ticketed on a charge of careless driving. He was booked at the Sumter County Detention Center and released after posting a $2,000 bond. I'm sorry. An erratic man with a long history of arrest was jailed after an unwelcome visit to Wawa. Eric Wayne Watson, 38, of Oxford, showed up Friday morning at the Wawa on US 301 and County Road 466 despite previously being banned from the convenience store and gas station, according to the arrest report. The report noted that Watson was acting very erratic. He was taken into custody and booked at the Sumter County Detention Center on charge of trespassing. He has a long criminal history and strange behavior. In 2021, he was arrested when he was found drinking whiskey while sitting at the edge of the landscaping pond on County Road 466 and Buena Vista Boulevard in the Villages. He claimed he was a member of the Morris family. Watkins made a similar claim earlier that year when he was arrested at Lake Sumter Landing. Watkins was jailed in 2020 after a bizarre incident in which he armed himself with a knife and began banging on a woman's bedroom window. The woman did not know Watson. Watson was arrested in 2019 after stealing fishing lures and a bottle of vodka at Walmart at Buffalo Ridge Plaza in the Villages. Watkins was arrested in 2018 after paying an unwanted visit to a store at Southern Trace Plaza in which he had been banned. In 2014, Watkins was arrested after punching a woman in the nose on Christmas Day. God, people, look at this face. Look at this. Burn it in your memory. Try to remember. Stay away. A 91-year-old villager was sentenced to 5 years in prison Tuesday after she pleaded guilty to hitting two bicyclists with her Mercedes after fleeing the scene. Marilyn Hamilton of the village of Gilcrest was taken into custody shortly after her sentence was handed down by Judge Don Briggs in Sumter County Court. Hamilton was behind the wheel of a white Mercedes October 30th, 2020, when she struck a village of Dunedin residents Jessica Laub and Robert Hunter while they were pedaling on Morris Boulevard near Benita Boulevard. Witnesses told Florida Highway Patrol that Hamilton got out of her vehicle, saw the husband and wife crumpled on the road, got back in her car, and drove away. The vehicle was later recovered at the Mercedes dealership in Gainesville, where it was being repaired. While delivering the sentence, Judge Briggs emphasized that Hamilton's biggest legal problem wasn't the crash itself, but the fact that she left the scene. And this is a long report, and I'm not reading everything, and it's a shame because this is almost like a life sentence now. It's just a shame that it just went the way it went. A speeding driver from Nicaragua was arrested by Wildwood police while driving without a license. Danny, 28 of Oxford, was driving a maroon 2008 Chevy Impala at 5:30 a.m. Thursday northbound on Main Street at Cleveland Avenue when he was caught on radar traveling at 56 miles per hour in a posted 35-mile-an-hour zone, according to a arrest report from Wildwood police. During the traffic stop, Danny handed the officer his Nicaraguan passport and admitted he does not have a driver's license. A check confirmed he has never been issued a driver's license in the United States. He was arrested on a charge of driving without a license. He was booked at the Sumter County Detention Center and released after posting a $500 bond. Here's some of the recreation centers and things that's going to be closed for maintenance. The Manatee Recreation Center indoor facilities, outdoor facilities, and family pool will be closed for maintenance on Thursday, January 5th. The Paradise Recreation Center indoor facilities, outdoor facilities, and family pool will be closed for maintenance on Friday, December the 30th. The Colony Cottage Recreation Center, indoor facilities, fit club, outdoor facilities, and sports pools will be closed for quarterly cleaning on Wednesday. The Paradise Dog Park will be closed for quarterly maintenance Monday. The Odell Rec Center, indoor facilities, outdoor facilities, and family pool will be closed for quarterly cleaning on Friday. The St. James Recreation, outdoor facilities, and adult pool will be closed for quarterly maintenance on Thursday. The Lake Meona Recreation Center sports pool will be closed for trellis replacement on Monday, January the 9th.
And don't leave your keys in the golf cart.